Alright, it's time to wrap up my On Second Thought Hatchet review series. I don't know what I'll do next. Maybe the Halloweens again. Something like that. Who knows? But let's finish up this review series and review Victor Crowley for the second and final time. I remember when this first came out, like the trailer and whatnot, I lost my shit because I'm a huge fan of the original. I enjoy 2. I'm not a huge fan of it. I like the kills. 3, I think it's my favorite sequel, part 3. But when I heard the news about part 4 and the trailer just came out of nowhere, this was a secret project, and when I heard that it was announced, I was just counting the days and just looking on Google every single day, like, when's this thing gonna come out? Because when this first came out, it was only at like little film festivals, so I had to wait until this thing came out to Blu-ray and DVD, like 6 months, because I think this came out originally, the film festival, like in August, and it didn't come out to the public until February, so that was a long time for me to wait. And when it finally came out, it was like Christmas morning, and I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I have some problems with it, but I'll get into that later. But this one definitely feels the lowest budget. Like, it looks the cheapest out of them all, but it doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's just the effects don't look as great as they did in, like, the first one, when you had John Carl Biegler doing the effects. This one has moments where it starts to look like it's a lower budget film compared to the other ones. I mean, these aren't big budget films, but this one looks the lowest budget of them all. The acting's not that good, but I feel like some of the performances are a little hokey on purpose, because this is like the most comedic film of the 4, easily. Like, the first one's hilarious, but I think this one rivals it for almost being a little bit funnier because of just one character alone, and that is Dylan, played by Officer Doofy in the Scary Movie, the original Scary Movie parody of Scream. He is hilarious. He is, I would say, even more funny than Marcus and Ben in the first one, and I love those characters. So that's a high bar to cross, and he does it. Dylan is the best character in this movie. I'll spoil that right now, but he really just steals the show, steals the scenes that he's in, and it's a shame that he has to go. This is a spoiler discussion, by the way, so let's get into the movie. This movie opens up in 1964, so it's like a prequel at the beginning. We actually get to see what I think is the first night that Victor Crowley gets to kill. So, because they're like, oh, they hear the daddy call, and they're like, is that the guy who died on Halloween night? Like, as if it happened that year. So I think that maybe this is like the first batch of victims that Victor Crowley ever took out. And we see Kane Hodder plays Victor Crowley. We see Tyler Mane, who played Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie movies, and gets his head chopped clean off. Looks very silly.
Listen close, because it might just save your life someday. Never!
And this couple gets broken up. They're like engaged, and then their marriage is immediately destroyed by Victor Crowley. They get broken up literally into pieces, and they're even like foreshadowing their death on the boat. And then we get the kill that we should have got on and actually see on screen in part 1, Misty. We get that kill again, but we actually get to see it. And this is where the effects, you can just tell that this is, like I said, a lower budget. The arms and legs don't look real. It just looks very plastic-like, but it's still bloody as hell. It's very creative, and we actually get to see it. There is no MPAA for the Hatchet franchise. We get to see everything, all unrated. Very awesome. And we get lots of little winks and like inside jokes that you would only get if you knew like the director and his prior work and his personal life. He throws little names and callbacks to things, like his dog Arwen is the name of the boat, and it even says USS Grace, which is a callback to a movie he produced called Grace, about a like vampire baby, which I saw recently. I was not a fan of it. There was really I don't want to talk about it. It's just not that good of a movie. I don't really understand this one kill with the hatchet to the eye. Like, I'm not sure what happened there. Like, did he hit him from the back forward and like pushed his eyeball out? I'm not sure what happened there. That death still confuses me to this day. I'm not sure if I'm missing something or if I'm just an idiot. And then we get this cool looking recap where the candle, I just love the way that looks. We get a very quick recap and just to catch people up to speed in case they don't know. Then we meet Andrew Young. It's 10 years later, and he's selling a book that I just so happen to have. You can actually buy it, and it is the real deal. It's what they're selling in the movie. It even has that quote that Sabrina talks about later on in the movie. So, interesting read. He talks about other stuff that you didn't see in Hatchet 3. So, if you love this series, I highly recommend getting this book. So, he's on this, like, Oprah show, and it just doesn't look like a high quality, high production studio that she's in. I'm not sure how many viewers she's getting, but she has her own private jet, and I like how Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp, she's like, they have a luxurious jet, and it's beautiful. And then when they get inside of it, it just looks like a very chintzy, not very luxurious jet. Like the cushions and whatnot, it's all stained. It's not a good looking jet, so it's just kind of funny. Maybe that was on purpose. And then we get to like this book signing, and he's signing tits. We get Sarah Elbert as a cameo. We got Chad from part 2. He's like playing Chad's brother now. Maybe he'll be in Hatchet 5. And so yeah, just all these little callbacks, little references to prior films that are fun. And you see Arwen, the dog, Adam Green's dog, and this guy wants Andrew Young to sign his cock, and it lingers on screen for so long. It's just disgusting. And that's that guy's real dick. Like, they didn't get like a fake dick like a Sleepaway Camp at the end. Spoiler. This is a real nasty ass cock that is on his book, but the scene's hilarious. Like the post-it notes on the screen, and she's like, 1, 2, 3, this is a big one. Like, it's just a recurring thing. They have like a system set up, like they know they're gonna have this happen at every book signing, so they're just prepared. They got post-it notes. Just so much humor in this movie that lands. We meet Laura Ortiz and this couple that are going to shoot a mockumentary, a fake trailer for their Hatchet movie, which is exactly what Adam Green did when he made Hatchet 1. He made a mock trailer. So there's all these little things that are taken right out of Adam Green's life. Even like relationship drama and speeches later on by Sabrina that are just all self-referential. And the humor on that Sabrina show when like he's like, I was exonerated, and only one person claps, and he's like, thank you, ma'am. Hilarious. I laugh every time I watch this. I've seen this movie over half a dozen times. I was still cracking up throughout, and that is a hard thing to do for me. Like, I'm a hard shell to crack. Hardly anything makes me laugh out loud. I'll smile most of the time, but this movie actually makes me laugh, and that's an achievement. So this is a funny ass movie that doesn't get enough credit. People shit on it. I've seen other reviews. People are like, fuck this movie. It's badly written. It's badly acted. But it's like, who cares? So are a lot of horror movies, but this one's entertaining. It's hysterical. And the kills, that's what we're here to see. And the kills, there's plenty of them. About the same amount as Hatchet 1. There's not as much as Hatchet 2 and 3, where there's like 20 plus in those movies alone. But this one's more on par with part 1 when it comes to the body count. It's not that high. It is a shame that they're stuck on the damn plane throughout most of the movie, but I think I'm not sure if it was written that way on purpose or if that was just a budget thing. I would say maybe it's a budget thing. They don't have a whole lot of room to explore the woods, because this is like a sound stage. The whole movie is, so they didn't build an entire swamp, so they just had to stay in this one little confined area. So it feels very claustrophobic. Maybe that works for people. People like a claustrophobic, isolated setting. But this one, it just gets tiring after a while. Seeing that damn plane, those red lights, you just want to leave. You're waiting, you're begging for them to leave the goddamn plane. And then they do, and then they go right back in, and then they leave again, and they go right back in like twice. It's like, no, stay out of that damn plane. And then we get the typical, like, I'm not going, hard cut. They're there. It's just like the Rambo movies where Rambo gets a mission and he's like, I'm not going back to Vietnam. And then hard cut, he's there. I'm not going to Burma. Hard cut, he's taking the missionaries. Like, it's in so many movies. And then we see like all these missing posters of all the people in the other films, like Ben, and then the guy makes the shirt that Ben was wearing in part 1, which was a cool callback. And then even like another little thing that you wouldn't understand unless you knew, like what the behind the scenes people, like the cinematographer. There's a missing poster of the cinematographer of Hatchet 1, 2, and 3, and he didn't do the cinematography for this movie, so he really is missing from the project, and he's on the missing poster, so it's just fun. And he played the guy who got ate by a crocodile in Hatchet 3. So, yeah, I already said it's a crappy jet that they're on, and we get a cameo from Adam Green and Joe Lynch, the director of Wrong Turn 2, and he got his jaw ripped out in Hatchet 2. And we got Brian Quinn from Impractical Jokers, and Quinn, he got this job on this movie because he was not only a fan of Kane Hodder growing up, and he even had like Kane Hodder posters. He loved the horror genre, still does, but also because Adam Green himself loves Impractical Jokers. So, and then we got Tiffany Shepis in here, and she's in all kinds of horror movies, and she's probably the best actress in this movie, if I'm being honest. So, and it's only a 35-minute flight from whatever airport they're at to the swamp. And the reason why they're flying instead of just driving is because they want a cool aerial shot of the golden hour sunset. You know, they want Andrew Young looking down. It's like, is it really worth it? Just that single shot? It's just kind of silly. It's like, really, 35 minutes? Like, you could have just drove there. No, we need this shot. It's that important. I like that the swamp became like a tourist attraction. They're even selling like little dolls and posters. I like that addition. And you even see like the house in part 3 that got blown up. You can see the debris still there. There's like plaques saying like, here's where the house was. You even got the shed. I don't think the shed was there in part 3. It was like they moved it around. So it's not exactly the way it looked in part 3. But I like the attention to detail. There's some. And the look of Victor Crowley, I have to say, is a downgrade. I think that, again, goes with the budget. They didn't have the money to make him look as awesome as he did in part 3. He just looks more fake. There's moments where it changes to, like, he has a contact lens in one of his eyes. I wasn't a fan of the blue eyes in part 2, and now he has, like, a cloudy eye. Like, he's got, like, glaucoma or something. It's just odd. And they even give him some new abilities in this movie. Like, he has supersonic hearing. Like, he can hear a teardrop hit a leaf from, like, 20 feet away. No one could hear a teardrop hit a leaf from 2 feet away. It's like, where did all this supersonic hearing come from? And there's even, like, little moments where it feels like he's teleporting, but maybe that's just the editing. And you know my thoughts on teleporting. I do not like it. And he does teleport in Hatchet 1, so I guess that's not anything new. And then we meet Dylan, the best character. Automatically, he's hilarious. He's doing all these impressions, and he's quoting movies the wrong way. You looking at me? It's like, I'm pretty sure it's talking.
You looking at me?
It's talking.
Are you looking at me?
I think it's talking too.
Where do they get a load of me?
One moment that made me crack up, and it even has like a payoff later on, the joke where he goes to shake Laura Ortiz's hand, and she's like, I have a dick. And then later on the boat, or not the boat, the plane, he's asking her for a kiss, and she kisses him, and then he's like, I'll be back, and, you know, I don't care if you have a dick. And then everyone just kind of gives her a weird look, and she's like, I don't have a dick, it's just the thing from earlier. It's hysterical. I was just cracking up at that. I love how a body falls from the sky, it's burnt to a crisp, and Dylan checks the pulse, and he's like, he's dead. It's like, no shit. And he has so many of those moments. Like, when he gets on the plane that's crashed, he gets in, he's like, all right, everybody, your plane's crashed. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. And then another hysterical moment where we see, like, the makeup guy's body ripped in half, his intestines. They're just sitting there, and it's gruesome looking. But then he goes to Tiffany's character, who's like stuck, and for some reason they just can't get her out. They barely try. They don't try that hard. They don't really sell it that she's really stuck. But he goes up to her character, and she's like, where's Austin? And he's like, I hate to break it to you, but Austin's dead. And then, you know, Austin walks in, he's like, dude, I'm right here. And he's like, oh, Austin's alive. Sweet. Oh, I thought he was over there. Just funny, man. This movie, I swear, it doesn't get the credit. The comedy is like perfect, and like, this has the best comedy of the 4. All right, I've always said the first one was the funniest, but I gotta say this one takes the cake. This is hysterical every viewing. It never ages. The only thing I have to fast forward through is that cock at the book signing. I like how Felissa Rose just somehow sleeps through a plane crash. And then Parry Shen's character, Andrew, he goes outside the plane and he has the world's smallest knife. Like, if he wanted protection, he would get a much bigger knife than that. Like, they're not going to do much with that. So then the YouTube video, Curse brings back Victor Crowley, which is an okay explanation for why he's back. It makes total sense because that is what brought him, that's what created him in the first place in Hatchet 2, when we got that backstory. But it's just that, does it have to be in that area? Like, because these people are saying it in other locations in the video. It's not like they're there, but it's just like the swamp heard it. Like, I don't know. If you try to dive deep into it, it's not going to make sense. I mean, it doesn't. So it's just like a proximity thing. Like, if they played that video outside the swamp, it wouldn't do anything. But because they're right there next to it, it just works, maybe. But we get a nice little Reverend Zombie cameo from Tony Todd. And then we get the motion sensor scare. And that was in the trailer. The trailer ruined that scare, which is a shame. But it's a great scene. It builds up tension. You see it coming, but you're still waiting for it. And it still takes you by surprise when it happens. The motion sensor just keeps going off like every 5 seconds. Kind of like in Halloween 2018. That weird motion sensor that just keeps going off at random times. Like it's on for 5 seconds and it's only on for 2. It's not consistent at all. But boom, it just comes on. There's Victor Crowley, tackles him to the ground, grabs the hammer, hits him in the face 20 times. I think 20 exactly. I counted one time. Yeah, I think it's 20. 20 fucking times to the face. Eyeballs missing, gurgling on his own blood, sticks the claw underneath his chin and rips his head right off, blood squirting out. This is one of the best kills in the franchise. I had it in my top 10 Victor Crowley kills for a reason. It's brutal, it lingers, and that's what I like in a kill. I know a lot of people are a fan of Felissa Rose's death in this movie, even Adam Green himself, but I like the brutality of Alex's kill, and he was a great character. It's a shame that he had to be the first one to die, because outside of Dylan, he was probably my second favorite character. The hatchet prop is real, like they have a real hatchet in the big old log, just ready for Victor Crowley to pick up again. It's like, really? I mean, was it cemented in there really good, but because Victor Crowley's so strong, he can just rip it out in one pull? Maybe. But it's like, that's a dangerous prop to just have laying around. And of course, they have the belt sander just sitting on the shelf, ready for him to get as well, which is just a funny, like, cut. They're, like, on the plane talking about the belt sander. Like, I hope he doesn't have one, and then it cuts, and there's the belt sander right there. And just like in part 3, when he can't get into the boat for some reason, in this one, he just can't get into the plane. Like, it's just impenetrable. It's so tough to steal. He can't get through it, but he can break the windows open easily, like they're made of candy glass, because they really are behind the scenes, but whatever. Like, those are plain windows. Those things are built to withstand all kinds of damage. Like, no matter how hard you try, sledgehammer, they're going to take a lot of damage before they break open, because like they say in this movie, like, they're built like that because you don't want some crazy person on some Delta flight breaking the window open and then have everything like get sucked through. Like, so the fact that he can like break those windows open, but he can't like bust the door down and just walk in and kill them immediately is a bit of a stretch. You just kind of have to ignore it. Like, okay, whatever, I see. They got to stretch the time of the film. They got to make it hit the 80-minute mark at least. I get it. But it's still a question that is raised when you're watching it. Like, how can he not get inside that plane? He's Victor Crowley. He can bust that door down easily. I mean, come on. He's ripping people to shreds. We get like 4 kills in a row within like 2 minutes. You know, it starts with Felissa Rose. She runs out. She's like hyperventilating. She can't breathe. She needs her drugs. And Austin goes to shut the door. Gets the Kill Bill kill. Lucy Liu, whatever the chick at the end of Kill Bill. Top of the head chopped off. Brain just sitting there. Falls out of his head. Unrealistic. Whatever. And then the other chick, Felissa Rose, gets her arm ripped off. Scott Barnes is calling her. Another callback to Hatchet 1. Arm shoved up the vagina, out her mouth. Very long arm. It's so over the top. And then he stomps that chick's head in. A very similar kill to the kill in part 3. And the other chick just drowns, and she's pregnant, so that's a twofer. We got a pregnant chick drowning. I really like the score in this movie too, like especially during that scene where all those people are getting killed, and he's like dragging her up the hill, using her as bait. The score is very reminiscent of Hatchet 1, which I'm a big fan of that score too. It's just awesome. So yeah, he gets the belt sander. He's trying to break into the plane, but he can't do it. Takes him a few minutes. They swim out. Dylan's in the cockpit trying to reach other people. He's like going through all these different names. Like, this is Sergeant McMaster. And then that doesn't work. So he's like, this is General McMaster. And then we get Kane Hodder on the other end of that CB. So they leave the plane, and Dylan like locks the door because he hears Victor on the other side. But then he gets the plane running, and then he opens up the door like, hey guys, I got it running. Like, that was a risky move because Victor could have been on the other side of that door still. Like, he forgot that he was there not even a minute ago. Oh my, I love the joke though earlier when he's like, I have a YouTube channel, it's Chilling with Dylan. I got 86 subscribers. Well, 85 now. Like, he just lost a subscriber. Oh my gosh. And I wonder who was the subscriber? Was it the chick making the movie? Was it Felissa Rose? And how would he know? Like, you don't get pictures of your subscribers on YouTube. You don't know who they are or what they look like. So just the fact that he knew one of them was, I don't know. So I'm not sure how he knew. And then the teardrop thing, like, he's got supersonic hearing. And then Scott Barnes is calling once again, and the ex-wife gets killed. Like, he crushes her face, and her face is, like, swelling up. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Like, is it swelling, or is it her jawbone just dislocated? He like crushes her head and then chops her head off. We don't really get to see it. It's more stylistic approach where we see her POV looking up and then like rolls over and her eyes are like flickering, blinking. I don't know. It's an okay kill. I wish we could have just got to see it. And because she's a bitch. And if you read the book, you hate her character going into the movie because she is a major cunt in that book. If Andrew Young's telling the truth about all the shit she did. So then they lure Victor Crowley back to the plane, and they got the turbine going, and they're like dropping one-liners. It's like she throws the hatchet and only like goes like 2 feet, hits the ground, and then he's like, I got this. Gets a flare gun, misses, says a one-liner. And Dylan's like, maybe no more one-liners. And then he sacrifices himself, which is a dumbass move. Because his character's so awesome. We don't want to see Dylan die. And it wasn't necessary. He didn't have to go fly in there with him. But I do like that line where he's like, I would have had your babies. And there was a other outtake where he said, take care of my twin brother or something. Because he knows that in this franchise, if you have twin brothers, you're going to be in a sequel like Parry Shen's characters. You know, the brother in 1 and 2. So, maybe he does have a twin brother. And hopefully we'll see Dylan again in Hatchet 5. And then the movie's over. It does that hard cut ending that the first two had. And we get an after credit sequence with Mary Beth Dunstan, Danielle Harris. She's coming back. She's still alive. And I'm not sure what the plans are for the sequels. I heard maybe they're going to take Kane Hodder's or Victor Crowley out of the swamp. Maybe have Victor Crowley takes Manhattan. Something like that. But he did say when he wrote this movie, he had a part 2 and 3 to this story already in his mind. Just like when he made Hatchet 1, 2, and 3. So we could get 2 more movies. Hopefully we do. I think this movie made its budget back. It actually made money. So fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll get another one. It's been over 2.5 years now since the movie came out, and we haven't heard anything since, other than the fact that he does have plans for 5 and 6, but we haven't heard anything production-wise or anything about casting, so I don't know. Hopefully we'll get another one. So that's the end of the movie. Now let's go into my awards. The best character, the Hockey Mask Award. Like I said earlier already, it is Dylan. He's the most hysterical character in the franchise. He has the best lines, and his death has the most impact because of how awesome he is. And the worst character in this movie is that fat guy who takes his fat, ugly cock out at the book signing. It's a scene I have to fast forward all the time because of this asshole. And the hottest chick in this movie is Tiffany Shepis' character. And the Funny Bone Award for funniest moment will go to this.
This is Rose. She's doing makeup effects and everything else.
Rose. By any other name?
I have a deck.
So where'd you study?
And the best shot will be the tracking shot of Victor Crowley stalking his victim. And the best scene in this movie is the motion sensor light shed scene when Alex gets killed. And the best kill in this movie will go to Alex because I like the brutality of it, how it lingers, and the effects. It's brutal as hell. It is amazing looking. And the worst kill in this movie will go to Shepis, even though it's not really a kill, but it's still a death that just doesn't really do much for me. And those are my thoughts on Victor Crowley. What did you think about this movie? Put all your thoughts up in the comments below. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's the funniest? Do you think it has the best kills? Put all your thoughts of it down below. Let's talk about it. And if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button, share it with all your friends, and become a subscriber today if you haven't done so already, just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.